Hi, welcome to another session of ENT. I am Dr. Sanjay Agarwal, your ENT educator. Right. Now, I've been teaching ENT for 18-19 years now, and that's a huge experience. I think nobody in the country can claim to have so much experience in teaching. And in the last 18 years, I've also written 3 books, as you can see. First one, Dr. Agarwal's ENT in 2011. Second one was Review of ENT in 2017. And finally, last year, a book for foreign medical graduates called ENT for FMG graduates 2019. Right. But today, we are going to have a session on uh, questions. So this is our first question, image-based question basically, that a 4-year-old child was brought to ENT OPD with complaint of foul smell from the nose. The examination finding is shown below. Which of the following is true of this condition? So you can see the finding shown here. And first one says that this is the most common cause of foul smell from the nose of a child. The second says immediate removal should be done. Third one says eustachian tube catheter can be used to remove it. And 4, all are true. I think it's a pretty simple question. Everybody can answer this. So what do you think is the correct answer? A, first one, second one, third one, or the last one? I'm giving you a few seconds to make up your mind, and in case you have, you'd know that fourth is the correct answer, D, or last one. Now, from the history and the examination, the image, it's very clear that this is a case of foreign body in the nose, nasal foreign body as we call it, right? And nasal foreign body is very common in children, especially a child of 3 to 5, 6 years. If the child is brought to the OPD or emergency event with a history of foul smell from the nose, you can be sure that it is a foreign body. Foul smell in the nose of a child around 4 5 years is surely a foreign body. But additionally, there could be bleeding from the nose and discharge from the nose, sometimes pain also. Why do you have bleeding or pain and discharge from the nose due to foreign body? Now this happens in kids who put the foreign body in the nose and forget about it. Either they forget about it because kids, they don't know the importance of all this, or out of fear that they will be shouted at, the parents will scold, shout at them, they don't tell their parent. So the foreign body remains inside, and this foreign body gets infected in few days, and the infection causes this discharge and bleeding from the, and that's also the cause of foul smell in most cases, right? But if you leave it for longer, say a week, 10 days inside, then calcium deposits on it. There's a calcium deposition on this, and now the name of this disease condition becomes, rhinolith. Rhinolith is the name now, which is nothing but old calcified foreign body in the nose. What is rhinolith? Old calcified foreign body in the nose is rhinolith. Right. Now, rhinolith and foreign body of the nose, they present similarly, which is given in the history. Usually it's a child and there is a smell from the nose, maybe discharge, maybe bleeding also. Now, a very important point is that in this, the foreign body is usually unilateral. It is never bilateral in the nose. Even if the child puts more than one foreign body in the nose, the child will put in the same nostril. Suppose the child is right-handed, this is my right hand. So if I have to put something, my right nose, it goes like this, right nose. Another thing, right nose, because the child is not, he does not have that much of sense. So if the child is left-handed, then he'll try to put everything in the left nose. So it may be more than one foreign body, but it's going to be in the one nostril only. So most of the time you can diagnose very easily on anterior rhinoscopy. The examination is called anterior rhinoscopy, like this. You can just see the foreign body. But many a times the foreign body is a little posteriorly placed in the nose, so it may not be seen on anterior rhinoscopy. We will not be able to see it. So if the foreign body is in the posterior part of the nose, it is either the child has pulled in, snuffed inside, or sometimes the parents of the child or somebody who is not a specialist try to remove the foreign body. In the effort, in the process, it gets pushed back, right? Now this is very, very important to know. See, can you see the foreign body in this image? You can see that the entire nostril is occupied, and you can see only the anterior front 10 to 15% of the foreign body. You can't see almost 80 to 85% of the foreign body basically, and it's more or less round, right? So it is on the back side. Now the first instinct is that I must remove this foreign body immediately. That's the correct thing. You have to remove the foreign body immediately. That's the correct thing. Now the first instinct is you take a forceps and try to hold it with a forceps, and you think I'll hold with a forceps and pull it out. Now what happens is, because you can only see the very front part of the foreign body, when you try to hold with a forceps, it slips. And if you try to hold something and that thing slips, then what happens? It goes backward. It becomes a missile. It goes backwards with a lot of force. So it gets pushed back. And that's the real danger. So that's the most important thing in nasal foreign body that you have to know, is that never try to hold a foreign body with a forceps. Never. It's a crime almost. The moment you try to hold it, it will go back. And it goes too much back, then from the nose it may go back to the nasopharynx, behind the nose, and from nasopharynx comes onto the oropharynx, and then it going to go to the lungs and the trachea and bronchus. So it can become a foreign body in the airway, which is a very dangerous thing. So that's why never try to remove a foreign body with a forceps. But you have to do immediate forceps, right? So what do? You need a L-shaped hook, like for forceps, L-shaped. And you have many options for that. One of the safest option is this eustachian tube catheter. Eustachian tube catheter is L-shaped or almost a J-shaped probe, which is actually for the eustachian tube. But what you can you see that in this foreign body there is a space on the supromedial aspect of the foreign body, superior and medial part. This small gap is there. So through that you pass this L-shaped, and now the hook goes behind the nose. This part is behind the foreign body. So if this part goes behind the foreign body, now the foreign body cannot go back. It cannot go back. So, and you pull it, right? So you pass it like this from whichever side has the gap, in this case, and posteromedially, you pass it and then you turn it like this when it is behind, and then pull it, right? And that object which is L-shaped, the tip must be blunt, not sharp. If it is sharp blunt edge tip, then it is going to cause trauma, isn't it? So it has to be blunt edge. And this is a perfect instrument is this eustachian tube catheter. It's a very popular instrument which is used to remove foreign body. Also it is used to open the eustachian tube. That's why it's called eustachian tube catheter, right? That's why all are true. Okay. So the point is, never try to remove a foreign body with a forceps, a holding forceps, right? Second question. Now you can see an image and you can see a triangular area. So they are asking which of the following is not true of the triangular area marked in the image. Again, it's a very simple question. Everybody can identify this area. And choice 1 says this is a landmark for mastoid antrum. Second one says mastoid antrum lies 1.2 centimeter deep to this area. Third says it's a useful landmark during tympanoplasty surgery. And fourth one says temporal line is one of the boundaries of this triangular area, right? So I hope you have got the answer. Is it the first one, second one, third one, or the last one? What do you think? Think. It's a pretty simple question, isn't it? Right. Now we know this area. What is this area? This is a McEwen's triangle. McEwen's triangle, also called suprameatal triangle. And the most important point or aspect of this McEwen's triangle is the fact that it's a landmark for mastoid antrum. So this is a landmark for mastoid antrum, yes. And mastoid antrum lies 1.2 to 1.5 centimeter deep to this. So if you want to enter the mastoid antrum from this point, you have to go 1.2 to 1.5 centimeters deep. So second point is also true. And there are three boundaries of this landmark because that's a triangle. One of them is temporal line. So fourth is also true. One boundary is temporal line. Second boundary is postero-superior meatal wall of the canal, posterior canal, and the third is a tangent drawn. Tangent is drawn between the two. So this is not a landmark. So the correct answer is C. C is not a true statement because this is not a landmark for tympanoplasty. It is a landmark for mastoidectomy. See, mastoid antrum, so mastoidectomy. This area is the mastoid area. So when you do a mastoid, because antrum is opened, mastoid antrum, when you do a mastoidectomy, so this is a landmark for mastoidectomy, not for tympanoplasty or meringoplasty, the other ear surgeries. No, none of the others. Yes, you can say tympanomastoidectomy. If I say it's a landmark for tympanomastoidectomy, then it is okay, right? But only tympanoplasty, no, not true, right? So very important area, this one. I'm sure you know about this already. Then we talk about the third question. Again, image-based question. A 8-year-old child was brought with fever, dysphagia, and throat pain for the past 2 days. The examination image is shown, which is not true of this condition. So you know, very clear-cut image is here. It says this is a case of membranous tonsillitis. A, is it true? Diphtheria is the most common cause. Is it true? Then antibiotic is the main treatment option. Is it true? And this can lead to rheumatic heart disease. What do you say? Is it the first one, the second one, the third one, or the fourth one? Think. Give me the answer. Should I tell you? The answer is B. This is not a true statement. See, you can make out there is a uvula in the center. You can see the short palate and both side tonsils, and below there is a tongue. And on the tonsil you can see membranes of pus, membrane formation of pus. Now, membranous tonsillitis and follicular tonsillitis can be seen in the same patient. The small ones are called follicles and the big ones are called membranes. So they are together. So you can call it a follicular tonsillitis, you can call it a membranous tonsillitis, right? So that's true. And fever, throat pain, dysphagia are the main complaints. This can be seen in children as well in adult, but this was a child incidentally, right? Now, streptococcus is the most common cause. Group A, beta hemolyticus streptococcus, or you can say streptococcus pyogenes, not diphtheria. Diphtheria is the second most common cause of membrane in the throat. It used to be the most common cause in the past, not anymore. And the first line and the most important treatment is antibiotics. Most of the patients relieve with antibiotics and symptomatic treatment. In rare cases, you may have to do tonsillectomy also, but that's less commonly done. But antibiotics is the main treatment, and this is the main source of streptococcal antibodies for rheumatic heart disease. Most of the rheumatic heart disease is due to the antibodies formed against streptococcus, and the same streptococcus of this tonsil is the acts like an antigen for those antibodies which goes and settles into the heart and cause rheumatic heart disease. So this is the cause for rheumatic heart disease. That's true. So B is the correct answer to this question, right? So these are the three questions that I wanted to talk about. But I want to tell you that every weekdays, Monday to Friday at 7 o'clock, I'm taking a session, free session on Unacademy app. It's called NEET PG 2021 Crack ENT with Dr. Sanjay Agarwal. So 1 hour session every day starts at 7 o'clock on weekdays only, the entire month of July. So, and it's free. So I hope and I wish that you join because it's really useful. And think about it, almost 15-16 sessions left. We are going to cover so many things. So please join this. But besides this, I have 3 courses of ENT, new courses coming up. One is called regular batch. The second one is concise course. And the third is a revision course of ENT. Now regular batch, as the name tells you, is a regular batch. So I'm going to teach entire ENT in 30 hours, as you can see. And this starts on the 27th of July, right? So if you join this, you can use this referral code Dr. Sanjay 10. If you use this referral code, you'll get 10% discount on this. Then second, as the name tells you, is the concise course of ENT. The name concise tells you that it's the 16-hour course, half of the regular course. See, but in 16 hours, I'm going to teach you the entire ENT. Little fast, main points highlighted, and this starts on the 3rd of August, right? And again, if you use the same referral code Dr. Sanjay 10, then you get 10% discount on this also. And the third course is ENT revision course through live MCQs, MCQ based for NEET PG 2021, and this is just 5-hour session. This starts on the 30th of November and ends on the 4th of December just. And this is, again, you can use the same course, Dr. Sanjay 10 for 10% discount. Now what we have done is the second and third, that is this concise course and this revision course, we have combined and we have come up with a plan called Operation NEET PG 2021. Right. Now this starts on the 6th of July, has started actually till December, and we are covering all the 19 subjects, and all the subjects are taught by the top educator of this country. So as you see that in this course, I told you the concise course and the MCQ based revision course are combined. So you look at the first sentence, till October we are going to complete the 19 subject in the concise format, ENT 16 hours I told you, similarly the other subjects also. And from October till December, we are going to look at the second option, the second line. We are going to teach you, we are going to revise based on MCQ. So you have a concise the entire course plus revision. So this is a complete package of ENT. And in the MCQ part, we are going to cover more than 7,000 MCQs total of. Imagine. And you are going to have 10 dentists and 50 quizzes and so much. And as you can see, it covers all the 19 subjects. ENT, if you can see, ENT has 16 hours of concise course and 5 hours of revision course, so total of 21 hours of ENT. Similarly also other courses, and they are being taught by the top faculties. You can see the names, or you can even go to the website of Unacademy and look at the names. ENT is taught by me, Dr. Sanjay Agarwal. Right. So this is what I want to tell you. And if you use this is the faculty that is going to teach you this course that I was talking about. And if you can use this referral code Dr. Sanjay 10, you get 10% discount. Now you can use this referral code for any course you want to join. It is not necessarily only for this course. Any course by any faculty you want to join, you can use this referral code and you still get 10% discount, right? So this is going to be it for today. I thank you and wish you all the best for future. It's always a pleasure to teach you guys. Thank you, and my name is Dr. Sanjay Agarwal. Bye.